In this town, there's no off-season. The news never stops, and neither do we. It's always game day in Cleveland with Andy Baskin and Daryl Ryder.
It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. Brought to you by our good friends at Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Daryl, it has been a gloomy couple days around Northeast Ohio with the injuries to the offensive line, Myles, Garrett, the running backs. There are a lot of injuries on this team, and no one is feeling good after Sunday's game.
Should they?
No.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
I don't know. I mean, there's the only optimism you can have is the fact that we're just 3 games into the season and you're hoping that this team's going to be able to figure things out.
16 players. I was counting the number of players on the Browns injury report for Wednesday as we record this. Conklin didn't practice. Ford didn't practice. Garrett didn't practice. Hicks didn't practice. Njoku didn't practice. Probably not going to play. Pierre Strong didn't practice. And Jed Wills didn't practice. Myles Garrett officially did practice, he didn't practice. He's dealing with the feet, plural. Achilles, don't know if that is plural, and thigh, and we don't know if that is plural either. But
Achilles is going to keep you out for a game.
Well, he hasn't blown it yet. Give him a few weeks, and then I think he will blow it because the Achilles is sore because he's compensating.
Right.
For the fact that his feet are killing him, and he's only able to play 50% of the snaps. So, yeah, it's not great right now.
You're not even done. I didn't hear 16 names. Did you give me the rest of the names?
I just don't have.
You don't have the energy to give me 16 names? Come on, Daryl. Where is that Chipperoo? Where is that Daryl Ryder? I know that has the energy and the vinegar and the thing that goes with vinegar.
Little TMI time, okay? So
here comes behind the scenes with Daryl Ryder.
It's been pouring rain the last couple of days. I meant to get my
on the west side. By the way, if you don't want it on the east side, it hasn't been raining. But keep going. Yep.
I tried to get my lawn planted on Saturday, and I apparently stepped on a tack and needed a new pair of shoes because when I went to put my shoes on, I had a flat tire. So I went to 7 stores to buy shoes on Saturday. I couldn't find a pair until the 7th store. I went all over God's creation. What
do you have, like bozo feet that you can't find a pair of shoes?
Yes, I do. Thank you, you insensitive jerk.
Okay, what size shoes do you wear?
It depends on the shoe. I went to Fairview Park. Then I went to North Homestead. Then I went out to Avon. Then ended up in Parma. Parma ended up, shockingly, being the lucky stop. Found a pair of shoes that fit like a glove. Bought them. Done. By the time I got home, it's the dead of the afternoon. It's like 3:30, which means I have 2.5 hours of daylight left to get this lawn in. So I basically scalp the grass, and I'm like, okay, that's done. That took like 2 hours because there was just so much stuff in thatch in it. And then I'm like, okay, I got the garden rake. I'm going to start raking this out by hand. And I almost gave myself a heart attack trying to rake it out by hand. I got a quarter of the front yard, and I don't have a big front yard either, done. And I'm like, I'm just too old for this, bleep. So I pulled a Danny Glover, put the rake away. I ordered something on Amazon. I ordered a Thatcher. So it finally stopped raining this morning. I came home from Browns. Yard was dry. It was like, perfect. I've got 3 hours till I need to hop on the afternoon show. And I've got 3 hours and 20 minutes before I have to do the podcast with Andy Baskin. And so I scrape and thatch the front lawn, get all that done, lay down the grass seed, lay down the, after I raked it all out, lay down the grass seed, lay down the fertilizer, put some peat moss on top of it so the seed wouldn't blow away or the birds wouldn't come in and eat and all that. So it's 5:55. I spray down the lawn just to, so that the peat moss doesn't blow away, just to make it damp and settle everything down. It's 5:55. I have to be on the afternoon show at 6. Raced upstairs, took the fastest, because I was covered head to toe in just soot from the dirt and all that kind of stuff. I took the fastest shower ever, got dried, came downstairs to the office, jumped on the afternoon show, have no idea how I got through that segment alive. And now here I am recording the podcast with you.
Okay. I can't. I actually, you lost me at like Thatcher, so I don't even know what you were saying. I need to, and I also got hooked here. What is going on with your freaky feet that you can't find shoes and you had to go to 7 stores? Like, what size shoes do you wear?
You just have to really be insensitive, don't you?
I have no sensitivity to feet.
I was born bow-legged, and so
you're not the only one. Okay,
my
keep
feet
going.
are crooked, and so some pairs of shoes I wear a 9.5. Some pairs of shoes is a 10.
But you're saying that you can't wear a regular 9.5?
So what I was having, so when I got to Parma, I found a pair of shoes that I realized like I like those, and the display was a size 10. So I said to the young lady, I said, "Can you bring me out 4 pairs of this? Bring me from 9.5 to an 11." Oh. And the look on her face was just 1 of 4. I said, "Listen, I have goofy feet, and I would rather just have them all here instead of asking you to keep going back to bring me shoes. Just bring them at once, and then hopefully I can find a pair." And then she brings out the 4 sets of shoes. I tried on 2 pairs. The second pair was the charm. Sold, got them, and that was that. But yeah, I have bow leg and crooked feet, and it and that was the other thing. Aside from
like a Forrest Gump thing, like the beginning of Forrest Gump, that kind of stuff.
No, you're just really being an insensitive.
No, I'm not. I'm asking you. I mean, seriously, Daryl, I'm not trying to be an idiot about this. I'm blown away, and I'm trying to figure out how that works.
Yeah, my feet go like this. I have duck feet, so when I walk, I'm like this, if you can see it on camera, and they're also slanted like that, which is why I have to wear a certain pair of shoes, because if I wear traditional flat soles and there's nothing to allow my feet to bend a little bit and it flattens them out, I spend 2 weeks tripping over myself because it messes up my gait.
Okay, I'm sorry for being insensitive about your freaky feet. I'm sorry.
You made me describe my freaky feet to this.
Well, I mean, you brought it up. You're the one's like, I got to go to 7 shoe stores.
Well, now that you understand why.
So do you have sympathy then for Myles Garrett? That's my question for what's going on. And do you know a little bit more because of your own personal experience about what's going on with Myles Garrett, and what does that mean for him playing this week at Vegas? See how I switch this back to football and stop talking about your feet? Well,
I'm interested if it's like a plantar fasciitis situation, because that's what I get a lot. And that stuff is just brutally brings me to tears, painful. I'm wondering if it's that. The MRI came back clean. They had it MRI'd. So I don't know. Maybe it's like a plantar fasciitis thing. Maybe it's a structural bone thing with his feet or whatever. Remember, he had surgery when he was a kid too. So to help correct whatever issues. But my fear is, Andy, the feet injury is going to lead to something more serious, especially because he said after the game, "I'm compensating," and it's causing pain elsewhere. And we found out on Wednesday, the pain that he has is with the Achilles and with his thigh. So that gives you an idea about the compensation. And I'm worried that he's going to pop his Achilles now. That's me.
That seems, when I saw Achilles on the report today, that's the first thing I thought of was that, you can kind of get the feet part of it. You kind of understand that. And I wasn't quite sure on the thigh part. But when I saw Achilles, that's when I started to get concerned about where we're going with this thing. And it sounds to me like this is going to cut his career a little bit short.
Andy, he had to be he could barely walk from the podium to the hallway. And he had to be driven to his car on a cart. Like he sat it's not like he was cart. I mean, he sat in the golf cart, but he had to be, he couldn't walk to his car. So again, as someone who's had like plantar fasciitis, and I just know how awfully painful that is, I can't imagine the pain threshold that he is dealing with that is allowing him to play. And Kevin Stefanski said, "Hey, he's going to keep playing. He's going to play through it." And again, I worry that if he keeps playing through this thing, he's going to pop something.
All right, let's come back here, and it's always game day in Cleveland. I want to talk about the quarterback situation, and it's not really it's a situation, but is it not really circled around him? It's about everything that's going on. It's always game day in Cleveland. It is always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin, brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. All of the talk on the station over the first 3 days of this week is about Deshaun Watson. And I don't think everyone's completely pointing the finger at Deshaun Watson. And Deshaun Watson clearly today, when he was talking about the media, didn't want to hear anything about having to get rid of the ball faster, that he's only worried about what the quarterback or what the quarterback room says and what his coach says. And I mean, the whole world's looking at him saying he needs to get rid of the ball faster, but he doesn't seem to accept that. And I don't know, or maybe he does accept that, but he doesn't want to admit that some of the outside noise might be right. But I also, I mean, I feel for him. He is on pace to be sacked 99 times this year.
Yeah, he's already up to 16, and he's been hit like 42 or something like that. So it is not good. Yeah, I'm looking to see if I have the number here because I did the math earlier this week for
on the sack expectations or the pressure.
Yeah, the pressures. It's 16 sacks and 42 quarterback hits. 6 sacks and 17 hits in week 1, 2 sacks, 8 hits in week 2, 8 sacks, 17 hits in week 3. So 2 of the 3 games he's been hit 34 times. Ouch.
There's no way he makes it the rest of the season if that kind of pressure is.
No.
There's no way. I mean, he's good for another week or two.
Well,
There's no way. I'm telling you, look at the sacks, man. It's incredible. Like, I can't. And then, you know, how many of the sacks are based on the fact that the offensive line looked brutal and is all busted up? And I don't know how many guys are going to be left, original guys we're going to be seeing on this offensive line this week that were positioned to play in that spot when the season started and still haven't been here, the 2 outside guys, although Jed Wills did get a couple plays in last week. But I don't know how he can last without changing his game.
I tend to agree with you a little bit, but
I'm going to stop. I'm stopping the show right now. Daryl, it's been great. It's been a good run for 3 years. You actually agreed with me on something, so we are good to go. It's always game day in Cleveland. Thank you all, and we appreciate you. And have a good night, folks.
You know, the offensive line is right now basically a catastrophe. There's just no other way to describe it. You know, Jack Conklin isn't going to play this week. Jed Wills told us on Wednesday that he thinks he will play. He's going to try and give it a go. DeJuan Jones is going to play hurt on the knee. So that's, I just, you know, James Hudson, they signed 2 guys from 2 schools that I never heard of to the practice squad on Wednesday as well. Sebastian Gutierrez and Ricky Lee III.
From what school? Sorry. Don't look it up. Don't worry about
it. I did this with the afternoon show where we learned that it is Minot State.
Oh, Minot State in Minot, North Dakota? Okay.
Yeah. Never heard of it, but yeah, that's where Gutierrez is from.
Mm-hmm.
And
Lee Minot? That's the slogan.
Lee is from North Carolina A&T.
A&T. Okay. I've heard of both those schools.
At least I've heard of Carolina A&T. Yeah, but never heard of those guys. So, I mean, it's just a catastrophe right now in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Myles Garrett situation, and then this offensive line situation. So, you know, Ethan Posick had to play guard. Nick Harris was playing center. The rookie Zach Zinter's in for Wyatt Teller, who they placed on injured reserve.
So wait, who are the tackles going to be this week?
I don't know. The 2 guys in the least amount of pain. Yeah, possibly. I mean, he was, you know, they put him at left tackle.
Although they brought a fatty back too, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. But, you know, he had such a great preseason.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, how could you could bring him back in and go, okay, we have another tackle out there, but you didn't trust him enough to protect Deshaun in the final preseason game of the year. What makes you think he's going to be any better against the Raiders on Sunday?
Exactly. So they got problems, big time problems on that offensive line. And what compounds the problem, Andy, is the pressure isn't going to let up. And they're trying to get Deshaun's internal clock back together, right? And
is that the one that works on stars from looking up at the sky after 8 sacks?
I don't know.
With Tweety Bird going around?
I mean, they're just trying to get him back on track, and it's hard to get him back on track when the pressure isn't what the pressure, the pass protection, right? Isn't slowing up the pressure. So
let's see if you can answer this question. Why should I be optimistic about Deshaun Watson right now? What have you seen him do this season that we haven't seen him do in the past that can say, okay, I can live with that, and if that gets better, this team's going to get better? Anything? You think he's throwing the ball back? I don't think he's throwing the ball on the ground. I'm looking for little things.
His shoulder isn't busted. I guess that, right? That he's for now in one piece.
What did you think of his press conference beyond that?
I went to the locker room.
Oh, you didn't even listen to his press conference today?
Nope. I have to make a choice. Do I get 5 guys in the locker room, or do I get Deshaun and maybe 1 or 2 guys for the day?
And something you can go back and llisten to later if you really want to.
Yeah.
Right? So, so I don't blame you.
I read the transcript and, but.
Did you get anything out of that?
No.
I didn't get a whole lot. So
no, I didn't really write.
I just got a guy that maybe at one point I was listening. Is the emperor wearing no clothes? Because he was talking about, I'm just listening to the quarterback. And I agree with him on this stuff, but he didn't seem willing. I don't think anything's wrong with the way I'm hanging on the ball right now. It's what I've always done. Yeah, but you're also older. You've also had to have surgery, and you've gone through a ton of stuff before. I was even thinking back to bad starts, and, his Houston team in 18 started the season 0-3, and then they came back and ended the season like 11-5, I think. 11, no, that's got to be more than that. 11 and
the schedule. This schedule is going to get real tough on them, and games that we thought were going to be easy, like the Washington Commanders game, all of a sudden it's going to be difficult, right?
I watched that game on Monday night. Those boys look good.
Right. I am not anxious for that game at all, but. So,
Daryl, I'm not even anxious for Las Vegas this week. I'm worried.
Yeah. So here's where the Browns offense is. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You may want to get some like antacids, Pepto-Bismol, Midol, something. Okay. Here we go. The Browns enter week 4, ranked 25th in points scored per game.
Wait, what was the last thing you said I needed? What was that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I know you don't know. Okay. Keep going. Keep going. I'm looking at the line, and it is like
that is what you get for making me describe my feet.
All right, we're even. Go ahead, sort of. Not really.
They're 25th in points scored per game at under 17, 31st in yards, less than 250, 24th in rushing, just under 96, 30th in passing, 152.3. Boy, I'm glad we have a quarterback that's making $46 million a year to be 30th in passing, bringing back the reminiscing of the good old days of Deshaun Kaiser and RG3 and Colt McCoy and every other crappy-ass quarterback that's played for the Cleveland Browns over the last 30 years. Like, I'm so glad this guy is making $46 million a year so that the Cleveland Browns can be 30th in passing through 3 weeks of the season. Has he thrown for 200 yards yet this year?
No.
Okay.
And that's why I don't get mad when people, like, I'm going to be honest with you, this is kind of behind the scenes. When someone brings up Joe Flacco on our show middays, Jeff and Dan just roll their eyes back into their head. They're tired. I don't blame Browns fans for wanting to use Joe Flacco as a reference point because A, he was on the couch, and B, he was churning out 300-yard games. I understand the interception part of it. I get it. And I also understand Deshaun's record and how Deshaun's record looks really good. But you know what? Browns fans saw something, and they feel like they got special. Just something felt special about Joe Flacco. I don't know that Joe could repeat that again this year. I can understand that they moved on to him, but I'm not getting mad at anybody that brings up Joe Flacco. I'm sorry.
It was Browns fans' first taste of a legitimate, fun, high-powered offense since Derek Anderson in 2007. It was the first time you saw a high-flying, can score from anywhere on the field and just absolutely carve up defenses through the air type of offense since Derek Anderson in 2007. It was the best 5-week stretch. I bring it up all the time. The locker room, most fun I've had covering this franchise since I've been covering it, going all the way back to 99, either on a full or a part-time basis. I started full-time in the 2008 season, but it just was a fun 5 weeks. And the locker room just had an energy about it. His teammates gravitated to him. And this is a guy that was on his couch. Here's the thing, Andy. They don't gravitate to Deshaun.
All right, I'm going to bring this up because I see where you're going, and I'm going to bring up a point. We'll do that when we come back. It's always game day in Cleveland. It's always game day in Cleveland. He's Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. We are brought to you by Smiley One and Bryant, Northeast Ohio's premier heating and cooling solution. Okay, so Daryl, you were talking about Deshaun as a leader, and I was talking to a coach today, and we were talking about the Vancouver Canucks were struggling. We were actually talking hockey, but I think this applies to every sport. Okay,
the Browns or the Vancouver Canucks? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's about philosophy inside a locker room and who the leaders are and how good you can be and how things can get toxic when you don't have the situation. And I think you have to ask yourself. And I don't know Deshaun's work ethic. I don't know if he's the first one in, last one out. I don't know where he is in that thing. But the platform was set to make me think about it and wonder where he is in the spectrum. And the thought process was this: if your best player on the team is the hardest worker on the team, then you're going to have success because everyone kind of falls in line and they understand that if someone's going to work hard, they're going to play hard. I don't know. You describe it. You're around it a little bit better. Is that the situation we're looking at in Cleveland? Because I hear a lot of finger pointing, and I don't know that it's right or wrong.
I think that what you're getting at is what I call authenticity in leadership, right? So Deshaun's a team captain. He's also a guy that's been accused of some really awful stuff off the field. That's your team captain, by the way. Okay. Who gives the pregame pep talks? It's not
your backup quarterback is doing it right now.
Right. It's not Deshaun. It's your backup quarterback. So, yeah, I do think that it's fair to ask questions about authenticity in leadership. I think Deshaun Watson's is a captain because he's the starting quarterback and they gave him $46 million a year. I don't think he's a captain on merit. Joe Bitonio's a captain on merit. Charlie Hewlett's a captain on merit. Myles Garrett's a captain on merit. I don't think Deshaun Watson's a captain on merit. He's a captain because he's the starting quarterback and he's making a ton of money. I said this earlier, I don't think players gravitate toward him. I don't think Amari Cooper gravitates toward him. Now, when I say that, and I want to be very, very clear, because I don't want it to come off like I'm stirring up some crapola here. But what I mean by that is, that doesn't mean that players don't like him or players don't respect him or there's animosity or toxicity or whatever. It's just the energy around him isn't there. Okay. He's not an energetic personality. I remember how Amari Cooper was last year with Joe Flacco. And you know what I'm saying? I remember how he was with Deshaun, what he turned into with Joe Flacco, and what he's back into with Deshaun again. Okay. And again, that's not meant as a criticism, even though I realize it comes off that way. But I think that there's something to be said for authentic leadership. And Myles Garrett can bitch out a teammate for not going all out in a drill or not doing something, right? He's got the resume. Can Deshaun Watson do the same thing? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just today he kind of rubbed me the wrong way in his press conference because I just don't hear a lot of. Here's all I hear. I hear Kevin Stefanski saying it's on me, blame me, blame me, blame me, and I get it and I respect him for sticking up for his players.
For 4 years,
I know, but at the end of the day, it's going to be his job on the line, and he's going to end up getting canned, as we've seen thousands of times hundreds of times in the NFL before, where if you say it's on me enough times, eventually when you don't win, it is going to be on you. Right. Everything is, and it's not just a matter of sticking up. Now, your guys in your locker room are never, ever going to forget the fact that, they made a mistake. They saw it in the film room or the tape room, and they get it, and the coach didn't throw them under the bus to the media, and I'm not asking him to do that. But at some point, he's got to say, hey, the offense – He was talking about the offensive line today, and he goes, "Oh, it's on me. It's on me." Well, what part of throwing a block is on you? All you can do is teach it. And if these guys can't read a play or are having trouble executing what you put on paper, how is that on you? But you want to keep saying it's on you? eventually it's going to cost you your job in this league.
Well, and then the other thing too is just what a complete catastrophe this Ken Dorsey offense has been too. The offense sucks. I'll just come out and say it, Andy. This offense is crap. It's terrible. It's unwatchable. It sucks. Now, there's a lot of reasons why, but it's like watching the 1-15 and 0-16 Browns offense. They couldn't.
I had visions of 99 last week during that first half, and during the first half of the Dallas game. Daryl, they have
single yard with the game on the line. Deshaun Watson had 3 drives and went 0 for 3. Okay, they turn around and in week 1 had 1 first down in the first half. Last week they had 1 play in Giants territory, and that was after the opening kickoff, and there was the 24-yard touchdown from Deshaun to Amari Cooper. They couldn't get across midfield in the first half after that. So no, this offense sucks, and I have no problem saying it, and I can't wait to ask Ken Dorsey tomorrow, hey, Ken, you were brought here to make this offense something electric and explosive. So why does 3 weeks into this thing, does it look like an expansion team? Why does it look like the 0-16, 1-15 Deshaun Kaiser, insert crappy-ass quarterback here? Why? Because you were brought in to fix all of this. They fired Alex Van Pelt, okay, to bring you in to make this run, and it sucks. And that's the PG description of it.
They have 6 first-half first downs at home. 6.
And you think it's going to, like, if Gardner Minshew gets you in a shootout this week, right? You think you're going to win that? Probably not. Then you got to go to Washington, and the Commanders are all of a sudden a force to be reckoned with. Philadelphia is going to slap you around like a rag doll because they're the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're really good. You get to go home and come home to face Cincinnati, and even though the Bengals are winless, Andy,
they're way better than that 0-3 record, and we all know, we saw it. If they get 2 defensive stops in the first half, they win that game on Monday night.
Yeah,
it's just the truth,
right? And then you got Baltimore at home and the Chargers at home before your bye week. By the way, the Saints all of a sudden are a lot better than I think a lot of people thought that they were going to be. And then you go right into the meat of your schedule with Pittsburgh and Denver and Pittsburgh and Kansas City and the Bengals and Dolphins and Ravens. I got to tell you, Andy, I'm based on the 30th ranked offense right now passing and 24th overall. I'm looking at this. They may win 6 games this year. This may be a 6-11 season, which would be completely unacceptable. I'm not going to say, people should lose their jobs over that, but they go 6-11, Andy. Ooh, I would not want to be in the post-mortem evaluation.
Daryl, if they don't win 2 out of their next 3, I think people are just going to panic. And then here's the other thing. They're not changing quarterbacks.
No, the only way Deshaun does not play, there's 2 avenues here. 1, he gets hurt, and 2, the NFL says, you're done for a while. Because
that's it. Yeah, I agree.
Accused stuff, right? Those are the only 2 ways Deshaun Watson is not the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. That's just fact. You can want Jameis Winston all you want, right? He's not. By the way, Nick Chubb's not going to save the season. I hope people understand.
No, is he even coming back? What do you think? Because people are saying, I had people telling me November, and then I listened to Kevin today, and he was like, he's doing good. And I was like, well, that was really optimistic.
That was Kevin's way of punting the question and giving. So, but I'm just saying, like, once Nick is healthy, like, I hope
they didn't run the ball anyway. What's the difference if he's there or not? That's the one thing I kept thinking about last week. You were up against a defense that was horrible against the run. Horrible for the first 2 weeks of the season, and you chose to pass the ball over and over and over again.
But that's the new offense. It's a passing offense. It's not a running offense. Here's the other problem: is this was a wide zone block.
The Emperor has no clothes if that's going to be the case for the rest of the year, because they could have changed things around last week if they would have just ran the ball or tried to run the ball. Although now you've got running backs that are banged up too. They've got a running back health issue too.
Aside from the injuries to the offensive line, the other question has to be asked. Okay, this was a wide zone blocking scheme under Bill Callahan, right?
Mm-hmm.
Things are different now with Andy Dickerson and Ken Dorsey with this offense, right? It's no longer a power run offense. They're not, pulling and all that kind of stuff and pinning down the field. Do they have the right offensive linemen to run this scheme? They have good offensive linemen. There's a difference there, right? You have really great offensive linemen for the scheme that you ran the last couple of years, last 4 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now you're running something different. Are these the right guys to be running the new stuff that you're running?
I guess that's the question we're going to have to find out over the next few weeks, and we'll see. This is a week where they can pick things up, and then on Monday everyone will be going rhythmic chanting Super Bowl, Super Brown. So we'll see what happens. Who you got
still winning on Sunday?
Who do I have winning?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Right now, I feel like this is a game the Raiders are going to be at home, although I do think the crowd's going to be very pro-Cleveland. I think there are a ton of Browns fans going out there. So I want to believe the Browns are going to win. They're on the road. I think the Raiders are going to win by like a field goal. I'm sorry. And the Raiders are not a good team. They are not a good team. But I do know what Gardner Minshew looked last year for Indianapolis, how he looked against us. I don't know if he has any kind of wizardry like that. If the Browns offensive line looks like it did, if it looks like it did in this last game, this team's in trouble. I do think the defense can win the game for the Browns, though. But again, we've seen Minshew against this defense. So you tell me, who do you think's going to win?
Adams, Bowers, and Myers. Those are the three big names for Vegas. I'm undecided. Are
you leaning one way or another? In our last 10 seconds?
I'm leaning in your direction. I
don't want to be right. Trust me, I don't want to be anywhere near right.
But I need to see the injury report and who's going to be available come Friday.
That's a fair assessment, and maybe I'll reassess when I see that too. I agree.
If you have to trot out the offensive line that you had to put on the field in the second half last week against New York, I think it's going to be a long afternoon for Deshaun Watson.
All right. He is Daryl Ryder. I'm Andy Baskin. Thank you to Evan O'Brien, who's our amazing producer on this thing. And I want to thank Daryl Ryder's feet. It's always game day in Cleveland.